Houston, we have leprechauns. Hello! In this episode, I'm going to show you what happens with my leprechaun, and I hope you show me what happens with yours. Hello, glad you're back. Just as a reminder, I started the podcast in the middle of the month, and instead of doing a full 30-day story challenge like I plan to on most months, we're going to go ahead and do a couple of short one-day writing challenges where we develop a 3-sentence story. Last time we talked about theme, which was leprechauns, and we discussed the beginning of a story. That's your first sentence. And so that's what happened last time. I'm going to include a link at the end of the episode to take you back there just in case you've seen this episode first, this video first, and you want to get caught up on what happened prior to this. All right, so let's get started. The second sentence represents the middle of the story, and that's where all of the really meaty stuff happens. That's where we get a lot of action, suspense, comedy, mystery, those elements that are going to compel the reader to continue to move forward and find out what happens to the main character. Movie reviews usually contain elements from the middle of a story. If it's a comedy, we get a lot of jokes that are shown, a lot of funny bits. If it's an action film, well, we see a lot of action. And if it's a mystery of sort, we see bits that make us wonder what is going to happen and make us want to go to the theater and watch and find the answer to those mysteries. In a 3-sentence story, there really isn't a lot of room to develop tension, but it does give us a great opportunity to think about what elements belong there. You have a single line to do what would take place in an entire movie trailer. So what I recommend is selecting one example of whatever it is you're going to do. One funny joke, one humorous line, one bit of action, one mystery, one question being asked, whatever it is that you're focusing on for your story, give us one example of that, and that will be enough. Take a moment to think about what you want to happen in your story. Think about challenges, obstacles, mysteries, and competition. All right, and I'm going to put on some music and a picture so that we are inspired as we write. I'm going to write the middle of my story with a focus on obstacles. I will pick a different type of conflict on my next challenge. Because this is a science fiction story, it should have something to do with space or robots or an alien invasion. I have to admit that as soon as I finished the first sentence of the story, I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of it, which makes writing the sentence 2 and sentence 3 much easier. What if Lucky decided to hide his pot of gold on the moon, or found that an intergalactic leprechaun bank existed there, which could lead to a larger story where he's introduced to the intergalactic leprechaun community? Wow! Okay, stop the music. See how a simple 3-sentence story can lead to something bigger? I mean, I'm really only trying to find some obstacles to talk about or work on in my story, and I've got ideas for more, where I could take this. I could expand this to a much bigger story, but I'm getting ahead of myself, and I need to draw back and focus again on my second sentence. What are the obstacles Lucky is going to face? Here's my second sentence. Lucky looked all over the world. The Antarctic was too cold. The Amazon jungle had carnivorous pygmies. And just as he was about to give up, he looked to the sky for inspiration. Notice how I threw in carnivorous pygmies. It's the kind of detail I think younger audiences will enjoy, and it's funny. I'm keeping my audience in mind as I write. The third sentence in a 3-sentence story is the ending. This is where we need to resolve any questions or problems developed at the beginning and middle of the story. It works best if you can find a unique way to end the story. And from the Goosebumps movie, the character of R.L. Stine says, every story ever told can be divided into 3 distinctive parts: the beginning, the middle, and then the twist. And that's a philosophy I definitely attempt to do in all of my writing. Let's work on creating a third sentence that will surprise audiences in some way. My twist is going to be that Lucky decides to hide his gold on the moon. Right? It fits the science fiction requirement. It fits in with the parameter of the story. It's a leprechaun, science fiction, and the problem I showed during the first sentence, which is that there's just not a good place for him to keep his gold away from all the treasure hunters. Also, this kind of ending is not something that most audiences are going to figure out at the beginning of the story, which is, the first sentence. Maybe they'll figure it out during the second, but even if they do kind of have an idea of where I'm going with the story, they're still going to enjoy that payoff at the end when they read it. All right, if you're ready, let's write. He snuck aboard a rocket ship and found a spot on the bright side of the moon where everyone could stare at the night sky and see where his pot of gold was located, but not know it was there. How did your story turn out? Are you happy with it? I'm happy with mine. It has a fantastical element that I think is going to resonate with younger audiences. Also, it fits the description for science fiction, or the purpose of science fiction, which is to make the readers think. And hopefully they will. They'll think about the idea of a leprechaun on the moon and the gold, pot of gold up there, right? And if I'm really successful, the next time you're out there and you look up in the night sky and you see the moon, you think of my story. Now, if that happens, I have really succeeded with this story. Here's my completed story where I put all of the sentences together. A young, adventurous leprechaun named Lucky finds that all the traditional hiding places for his gold are no longer safe and needs to find a way to protect his pot of gold from treasure hunters. Lucky searched all over the world. The Antarctic was too cold. The Amazon jungle had carnivorous pygmies. And just as he was ready to give up, he looked to the sky for inspiration. He snuck aboard a rocket ship and found a spot on the bright side of the moon where everyone could stare at the night sky and see where his pot of gold was located, but not know it was there. Not bad. And keep in mind, that's a tiny story, right? I mean, that's what you can expect. If it was slightly amusing, you maybe got a chuckle out of it, then this story has done what a 3-sentence story is intended to do. It made me think. It gave me ideas for a story that I could expand upon. Maybe a whole novel of the intergalactic leprechaun society, right? And maybe that has a bank, a depository on the moon. So there's a lot of things that I can go forward with this. So for me, that's a big success. This story, this tiny story, has done everything that I could hope that it would do. Hopefully you followed along and wrote a story of your own. You can take that 3-sentence story and turn it into a 3-paragraph story, or a 3-page story, or a 3-chapter story, or even a full-length novel. This is a great way to get your brain started on a topic that you want to write about and then turn it into longer stories. If you did write a 3-sentence story, won't you please share it? Place it in the comments section where I can take a look at it and everyone else can read it. Let's get some comments. Let's get some discussion about any of those stories that are submitted. I mean, really, please submit your own story. I think you're going to find that this is tremendously fun. I wouldn't be surprised that we do this a couple times. We get people started, and once we start doing the 30-day challenge, I get requests to do more of these one-day story challenges because they can be so much fun. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they're like, Randy, start another playlist where you just do this. So we'll see how it goes. And anything that is submitted, I will make sure to take some time and share a few pointers on what I think really works well with those stories, and maybe where they could be a little bit clearer if possible. I mean, if you want that. If you want to post it and you don't want me to comment on it, just say so, and then I won't. But I can definitely help get those stories better developed, and I would love for that. I'd love to have the opportunity to do that. Okay, next episode we're going to be doing another one-day story challenge, and it's going to have a different theme. I'm kind of really looking forward to it. I hope that you'll join me. Until then, later.